Mr. Olubimi Ajayi joins us next. He's a former president, Association of Nigerian Professional Bodies. He's a town planner, but he was also in the civil service. So we'll be getting the benefit of hindsight in terms of the workings of that sector. Thank you for coming on this morning.
My pleasure to be here.
Well, I know many people will speak about the civil service, not in complimentary terms, and the civil service themselves may feel that that's very harsh on us. But in that program, they were also talking about how and what we need to do. You had several experiences in that sector. What happens and how do we move on from there?
You see, I think first and foremost, separating the civil service from the whole corruption, the whole society where corruption holds sway, and then where you look, it's probably not very fair. So that's the first point I want to make. And the other thing I want to make is that what is the role of the civil service? They are supposed to advise on policy. They are supposed to implement government policies. But the question is, have they been allowed to do what they are set out to do? It is quite a pity that one of the unintended, I underline the word unintended, consequences of the Muritala administration, where civil servants were just hearing them being retired on the radio, dampened or destroyed the morale of the civil servant. Before that time, you see, when you enter the civil service, technically you already have a career. That's a number of years. It could depend on what the retirement age is, whether they say it's 60 years, whether they say 30 years working and things like that. So you already know you have a career. Secondly, the disciplinary procedure is known. If you do something wrong, you get a query, you explain. If your boy is not happy, too bad. If you do it, you have another memo, you still have another query. By the third time, you get a warning, and later before you can be sacked. You see, all these things are very well structured. There's a government orders. There are financial regulations, we call FI, and the GO, that's the general orders. These things, so the civil servant had some level of security of tenure, and they could do their work, after that. But in 1975, when Murtala came and started sacking civil servants on the radio.
But at that time, they said it wasn't a blatant or unilateral sack. Yes, he did have the Assets Investigation Panel.
No.
That was
you see, those were much later things. You see, it's an unintended result. I'm not saying that was the intention of Murtala. That's why I say I underline the word unintended. You see, the intention was to clean the place and make everybody, be able to account for how they found the money they have. But what it did to the civil service is that it destroyed the security of tenure, which has been the greatest strength they think they have.
In other words, it was counterproductive.
Yes, that's why I said unintended.
Yeah, the reason why I'm bringing out the fact, the impression that it was counterproductive is the fact that what you would think that, people would sit up, straighten their ways and say, oh, I don't want to be caught napping. If I'm corrupt, I could just be announced the next day and, and I go home. Rather than clean up their act, it would seem that civil servants then decided, look, let me stock up in case
somebody sacks me tomorrow morning.
I'm fired. But, which is counterproductive, effectively.
Yes,
because rather than clean up,
it's counterproductive.
Exactly.
Yes.
You begin to stock up or amass, thereby worsening the situation. How do we ensure?
Okay. I've just started. I went back to 75. You see, what are we still being running to today? We're not running a proper democratic government yet.
By that you mean?
By that I mean a governor wake up one day, just like yesterday, I think Governor Ambody of Lagos State announced the removal of about 3 heads of agencies. That doesn't give anybody a security of tenure.
No, but the heads aren't the political heads.
Yes, some of them are political.
Yes.
There are cases in which general managers and things were removed in Lagos State since this government came in. You see, once tenure is not secure, you're looking for. I'm telling you exactly.
Yeah, but are you going to secure
ask the average civil servant?
Is it? Okay. Do we talk about securing your tenure in isolation? Because at that time,
yes.
Because the report out there is that yes. he did set up. There was a lot of talk about the public service at that time being corrupt, and yes. so he comes in, yes. sets up this assets investigation panel. They looked at certain things, and that led to the retirement and sack of about 10,000 members of the public service. Yeah, so it wasn't.
No, you see, don't forget that before the results of this panel came, there should be a few, you know. The intention was good. I'm not saying that was an unintended result of it. The intention was to clean up the place, just like Mopo said. But unfortunately, that's the negative effect it has produced. That's one part of it. The second part of it is this. There used to be a general orders. There used to be financial instructions. Then, when the issue of commander-in-chief came into the matter, a lot of these things disappeared. I remember when General Obasanjo, as he was then known, was the head of state, he came with a document on Operation Feed the Nation, OFN. I happened to be in the Central Planning Office of the Federal Ministry of Economic Development, and all these documents must come to us because we must comment on them. As a young officer then, the documents were sent to me. And when I looked at it, they attached some document from Ghana as evidence of why we should do OFN. And after I studied the document, I said, this is Operation Feed the Nation. That, as far as I can see from the Ghana documents they attached, there was nothing operational, there was nothing strategically to show that their production increased. But I think it's a better articulation of statistics. My parent secretary then, late Ime Ebong, called me to his office and said, Ajayi, you're a young man, and you're going to go places. But let me tell you, when your commander-in-chief says, I have this idea, it's not asking for your views. It's not asking for your ideas. It's asking you, how do I implement it? Okay. At that point, the advisory role of the civil servant got into trouble. Because ordinarily, a civil servant should be able to advise on policies. Advice. It's not left for your political masters to take the advice or reject it.
Is this still the same thing today?
That's exactly what I'm saying now. That's why I'm tracing the thing. You see, because once you define this, once your question is wrong, your answer will be wrong. It will not answer, it will not solve the problem you are trying to solve because you have defined the problem wrongly.
But you know, ever since that time, when you said, you started out by saying, have they been allowed to do what they're supposed to do?
Yes.
But today, the impression people have is, it's reversed. Do they allow others, the country, move forward and do what they have to do?
You know, just let me start going on the journey. Because I'm talking of the military. When I say commander-in-chief, I hope you understand that is so when this sense of commander-in-chief, once he says something, they cannot advise him. Then the civil servants now lost the art of being advisory to government. They now became like, okay, what does the governor want? You kill their initiative. You kill their sense of worth. And so, what do you want? What do you want? And so the game became, what do you want? Okay, then that's one side of it. The other side of it we started all sorts of I call it very ingenious or trying to solve our problem in our own best way. Of now saying federal character, some sections are not represented, and so you come and bring somebody who's junior to somebody, bring him to the federal civil service, and we'll go and make him the boss of something. All those things now, people, they lose morale. All in the name of once one person will be dominating somebody and things like that. And so gradually over the years, what we have done is to destroy the morale of the civil servant. We not only destroyed individual morale, we even didn't allow the civil service to know what exactly is their role any longer.